Hi Stampers, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Today we're making this adorable 3D card. It's a regular card, but the pieces on it are 3D. We're going to learn how to make the strawberry 3D, and we're going to fold over the corner on the front. So this is what we're going to play with. This bundle, this sweet strawberry bundle, which consists of the sweet strawberry photopolymer stamp set and the strawberry builder punch, can be found in the new mini catalog. It's back here on page 44. And this is what we're playing with here. Remember that you can purchase the stamp set and the punch separately if you wish, but you can save 10% if you buy the two of them together as a bundle. So I always recommend saving some money. And then I was saying that in the celebration brochure, here on page 14 and 15 is where you can see the Berry Blessings stamp set and the Berry Delightful Designer Series paper. This is what coordinates with it, and you can earn this free with a $100 order. And that is any Stampin' Up product that's current at the moment. It doesn't have to be out of the mini catalog. Somebody did ask me that the other day, and it can be out of our annual catalog as well. Also, by ordering through me, if you place at least a $30 order, you also get that little bundle of tutorials as long as you use the hostess code. I want to remind you guys to use the monthly hostess code because that kind of flags me and tells me to send you those free tutorials. These are the materials for today's card. We're going to work with a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So that's our card base. And then I have 2 layers of Whisper White, one for the outside, one for the inside. And I just happened to grab these because I have a lot of these pre-cut. These are 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I just cut an entire pack of 40 all at the same time because it's the size I use for the inside and it's a perfect layer. I use them a lot. Now, because this is going to be covered up by quite a bit, you can just choose a square of Whisper White just so that you can pull back and it'll see this corner. So it's not necessary to have it go all the way out to the edge. You don't have to do that, but just for simplicity's sake, I grabbed that one. And then we're also going to have a piece of the Designer Series paper, 4 inches by 5 1/4. I want to point out that we also have these 6 by 6 packs of assorted background papers, and they're just Designer Series papers, and there's 40 sheets in each pack, and you get 2 each of 2 double-sided designs. And these come in the brights, the neutrals, regals, and subtles, or in the in colors where you would get 4 each because there's 5 in colors and 10 per color family. This is also where you would get your 12 by 12 cardstock and your assortment packs of your 8.5 by 11. So those are kind of easy to miss, so I want to make sure I point them out, but these would work great for one of those backgrounds. So I'm going to start out with our cherry cobbler scraps. And then I'm going to pull in my punch. Now I tend to punch from the back side because I want to see what I'm punching out. And you can go with the strip that's just the width of the strawberry so that you're not wasting anything that might be cut out up there. But to do the 3D effect, I want 3 of them. So bunches of little pieces here that I'm not going to use at all. We'll throw those away. But I went ahead and let it punch out the flowers because I can use those on a different card. So we'll just set those aside. And then I'm going to take my garden green and we're going to punch out the stem. So 3 strawberries and 3 stems. We're making our 3D strawberry. That's this part right here. And I'm just bringing in my scoreboard. This is called the Simply Scored. And you could do this on your trimmer as well, but I'm basically just going to score down the middle, and then I'm going to fold them in half. Oops. So I'm just taking each one and folding it in half. Okay, so these are going to be the 3 for the strawberry. But then I also want to have the stem on there. And the stem is kind of narrow. And so I'm not really going to be able to get the 3 of them to butt up together. So I'm going to cut one off and just butt up the 2. And you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. But again, I'm just going to fold this in half. And then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue. So I'm laying that down onto one of the strawberries. And then I'm going to take my other one that's going to be the 3rd that I'm going to match up this one with. And then this one here is the middle. And that's the one that's not going to have the stem. And then I'm just going to put it on one part of the strawberry. So right now there's no glue on either of those. It's only these 2 I'm butting together. And then over here, I'm going to do this one and butt that up with this. Now this is where I said we're going to be able to match the 2 stems, but not 3. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of glue there. No, wait a minute. Which one did I not glue down? There we go. To make sure that I still have the part I'm going to glue to my card, right? So these 2 that do not have adhesive yet, that's the part that's going to get stuck to my card. And that's what makes it 3D. Now you can do this with the strawberry. You can do it with the ice cream cone. You can do it with the apple. I mean, butterflies. Any number of things that like fold in half evenly like this. You can easily fold them into each other and make a 3D item to add to your card. So I said on the front of the card, we were going to bend this part over. So you see how this has got kind of a little loop to it. Now it doesn't naturally want to come over and do that. So what I did was I took my bone folder and I just curled it a little. And that just kind of breaks up the fibers. See, it's already by doing that starting to curl on its own. And then I'm just going to be able to put it where I want it. And then I'm going to hold it down with a glue dot. So depending on how big the sentiment is that you want to stick in that corner is how far back you're going to have it bend. And like I said, you can use a piece that's just a square, or you can go all the way across. But if you go all the way across, make sure that they're the same size. So I'm just going to cut it down so it'll fit in that corner. And that's what I'll stamp onto. So that doesn't waste paper. Okay, so it is going to go right in this corner like that. I'm going to butt it up and just give me my border. But I'm going to stamp first. Remember, we always want to stamp first in case there's a little boo-boo, we can flip it over. So we have our choice of sentiments between the 2. Like I said, this is the free set, and this is the one you could purchase. I'm lining it up on my grid to make sure that the letters are straight. Then as I'm setting down the block, I'm making sure my block is straight on the grid as well. And that's going to give me the best chance of having those lined up. If at all you're worried about being lined up, I would definitely suggest the Stamparatus, because this again has the grids on the top. Let's see if you can see those. Yeah, there we go. So you can line them up on there. And then also, if you don't get a complete impression the first time, you can keep stamping until it's good and solid. Okay, now the reds do tend to stain, so I'm going to make sure I take that right over and make sure I wipe that off. See, if I had used the Stamparatus, we could have inked again and made that S darker. Now again, I've told you before, you want to make sure that when it breaks off on the roller. And so if you can roll it over a little, that's the better chance that it's going to break off up here, so you don't have to manually advance it. Okay, so I'm just kind of lining it up and making sure that you know, my white isn't gonna expose any of the red. It's covering up everything I want it to. Now I put a little bit of adhesive right here, but now I want this to bend back. So I'm gonna put a glue dot right there. And we could use Stampin' Seal too, but just some sort of adhesive that's going to allow you to bend it back. And as I did that, it lifted here. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more. And there we go. And then this part, I'm going to find the part that we had not adhered yet. So there's the front of our card. Now for the inside, we're going to do what we call double stamping. And in here, I'm using the foam insert. If I was just using red rubber stamps, I would just use my silicone mat. It just gives it a little bit of oomph up here in the corner, so I get a really good impression in the corners. But because they're photopolymer, I want the thicker pad. And then I'm just going to set my cardstock in there, and then I'm going to use one of the magnets from the bottom. Now, I put duct tape on it because if they were to snap together, they break. As you can see, mine did break. But the duct tape allows you to help pick them up. And if they do break, it kind of holds them together so you don't have lots of little pieces. But what double stamping is I'm going to set down and ink up the base of our strawberry, and then I'm going to do the detail on the strawberry. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the stem. I've got the solid part of the stem and then the detailed part of the stem. And what I do is I arrange the stamp where I want it to go, and then I just pick it up. And I could use my large pad over here, but as some of you know, I prefer to use the ink spots, which I store in our little acetate card boxes. Now, if I was doing this assembly line, which I do quite often for the cards I make for Etsy, is I would leave that in there, and then I would just change out my paper and keep inking until I had all of them. And I'm going to take and flip this over. And then I'm going to line up my second part. And so because these stamps are photopolymer, I can look straight down from the top and know that I am lined up where I want to be. I have flipped over this. It normally never moves. It's doing that because I'm on camera. But see how perfectly that lined up because I was able to line it up before I inked it and set it down. And then that's why my Simply Chamois has been cut into fourths. It makes it easy to clean off of here. And then I'm going to, like I said, do the same thing with the stem. Perfect alignment. And there's lots of techniques we can do with the Stamparatus where we can do the hinge stamping and we can do a wreath, and there's lots of different things we can do. So it's more than just the stamp positioner. It does extra stuff because everybody says, oh, I have the Tim Holtz one. And yeah, the Tim Holtz one is fabulous and it does this part, but it won't do the hinge stamping and the wreath and all those other things. Those are all extra goodies that we do with Stampin' Up. At least I haven't seen them do it because their plates don't come off. Okay, now I want to arrange this in the center. And then I'm going to pick it up. But I'm also going to make sure that I'm lined up straight on a grid line. And it wasn't quite, so I'm just moving it a little bit. And there we go. Now the Stampin' Spots come in our paper pumpkin kits. That's the only way you can get them with the stickers already on them, but you can also buy the uninked spots and then fill them with the ink refill. This ink refill will ink up the spots, it'll ink up our pads, it inks up the markers. You can use it for watercoloring. They're very useful. And so I always recommend, if you have a color that you really like and you never want to run out of, make sure you have your ink refills. They do last a long time, but if they ever retire a color and you love it, you want to make sure you have your ink refills. Now, because my magnets went together, they went gently so they didn't break. But in order to pull them apart, again, I have my washi or my duct tape to use, but I want to twist them and then pull because they are very, very strong. So it's best to twist and pull to get them apart. And then they have their little storage well on the back. Oh, and on the back of my ink spots, I always take a small circle die or a punch, and I punch out that color cardstock because, you know, the real red and the cherry cobbler will look very similar. So you can tell that this is actually real red. And so there's today's card. And then my husband, with his laser engraver, actually happened to make me a stamp. He used my logo and my web address and everything. And I can stamp the back of all of my cards. So if you're looking for a custom stamp to use on the back of your cards, he sells them for $9.99. He did mine before he knew how to cut around it, but now it does cut around. See, so the laser makes it all fit so they don't have to be hand trimmed. And that's today's card. Thank you for joining me. Again, I tried to keep today's card simple with the grandkids in the house. I wasn't sure what interruptions we were going to get. But this was a nice, quick, easy, simple card that just had a little extra something that wasn't hard to do. But now that you know, you can do it yourself, right? So don't forget that I have the list of supplies already in the description of this video, and any of that can be purchased in my online store. In order to get the free PDF, you have a minimum of a $30 order and use the hostess code unless you go over 150. And if you're interested in talking more about the Ultimate Bundle and maybe getting started as a demo or a happy shopper or even a business, let me know. I'd be happy to help. Thanks. Bye.